And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence. I'm Ernest Hancock here in Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm going to try and save my life by making sure y'all know everything that I do when I know it. That's how I've been able to survive all this stuff. This was the thing that I learned from the investigative reporter, Don Bowles. Now, you take a look at those on video. I can put up the screen. You'll see this Datsun, and the front seat is gone. The door's open, and underneath the seat is a big, giant, peeled back hole where the seat used to be underneath the steering wheel. It's just peeled back four ways. Looks like a pomegranate. Just peeled open, and it blew off his legs. He survived 11 days, and he long enough that he was able to identify a lot of things going on. My files are and this and that and so on. It's a fascinating story. I'm going to share it with you. What happened? There was, in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and up to now, of course, there has been enormous, they didn't even see it as political corruption. They saw it as us versus them, I guess. You know, the gangs that were in large cities, the mafia, the organized crime, they would leave in vacation or go to Arizona. There was a place here that's still there. It's called Castle Hot Springs, and you can buy, I think I saw it for sale for like $10 million or something. And it used to be an old hotel. Now it's a home and a little oasis out in the middle of the desert, north of what's called Lake Pleasant here, and probably about, it's probably 40 miles northwest of downtown Phoenix, up in the mountains. And you're going just like in the old Western movie. You have John Wayne going through the high red canyons, and then all of a sudden you come across palm tree oasis where a spring is bubbling out. They call it Castle Hot Springs. They built a little castle there. Well, back in the 20s and so, Wickenburg, when Wickenburg used to be the big silver mine, which is northwest of Sun City here, the valley, they would have a train that would go there and stop at Morristown. Well, I have some friends that live. Well, they'd take a wagon train, actual stagecoach, a stagecoach, and they would go to Castle Hot Springs, hang, and whatever. They put their guys up on the cliffs with their Winchesters and so on, have their little meetings, and, they got their little Thompson machine guns and whatever, and we can get to have our secret little Uber meetings. So this is, for a long time, Arizona has been like any other place. You've got the same kind of locations all over the world, in every state. I'm sure there's some, they go meet over there in the valley on the mountaintop in the guy's basement, whatever. Nothing secret about it, except that here in Arizona, it'd be remote. Okay, man, you're out in nothing. And even to get there, man, you better have water with you or know where you're going and assured that you're going to be able to drink some when you get there. So Arizona was not, think about it, Las Vegas. That was built on mob money. That was the middle of freaking nothing, but gambling was legal. And here we go, Las Vegas, rose out of the desert. Well, the same kind of thing here in Arizona, but we had access to water, diverting, and reservoirs and this and that and so on. They had a lot of agriculture. Now, there was also mining, agriculture, and sunshine. So there was a lot of things that were going on here that was worth being in control of, and a lot of it was land. During the 60s, 70s especially, there was an enormous, Arizona was known for land fraud. My wife's a real estate agent. I have my license. We've, just, learn all kinds of stuff. My wife's the one that does all the work. But I'm just, I could see why they had, you go through the classes and so on, why they have so much regulation, licensing, and fingerprinting you got and all that. We were one of the first to really go through a lot of this, especially as now you're doing the foreclosures and everything. Our court system was done because of this kind of fraud before. You must document it. You must have this. You must. Unless it's the banks that's screwing you, and then it doesn't matter anymore. So that's what's so interesting about a lot of these stories. And one of the stories that Pal Gamble, senior editor of Freedom's Phoenix, put in the magazine, our magazine that went out this last weekend, man, it kicks butt. And what happened was, one of the articles in there, them trying to get past all of these requirements in the filing of home deeds and such, that was made so clear in Arizona law here, and decades of practice they're trying to sweep away because it gets in the way of the banks. During that time, organized crime started flooding into Arizona. There was a lot of money to be made. They were selling a bunch of scrub land out in the middle of the nothing. You know how it is. It's like, come, the ranch is up, and we're going to build golf courses and this and that and everything in Arizona IA. And you'd have even, famous politicians, signing stuff. Goldwater got involved in this, They're signing, McCain and these guys, and they're all kind of Arizona and pushing and wrapping arms and legs around certain individuals that they probably wouldn't be none too proud in the age of the internet. And these guys are influencing people, lots of names. You'd have military personnel in the Philippines getting these solicitations from congressmen and senators and stuff here in Arizona for them to do this and go and get, and Arizona love you a long time. So this became such a black eye over time that finally they started cleaning it up and things are being taken care of that way. Well, they say, they changed laws and so on. So Arizona got known for a lot of land scam deals. During this, there was also what they called I hate to say it right, I think it's Kemper Marley is what they call it. It was a liquor distributorship here. Well, again, attracts right kind of people. And it was where the money came from for John McCain. He married into that. His wife is the daughter of this kind of machine that goes back into that. So all the particulars don't really matter other than, somebody's got some financial backing of somebody for something. And, the Democrats, the Republicans, they're all part of the same thing. Now, primarily, a lot of these guys were more focused as businessmen in the Republican movement, but they had just as, their buddies they go golf with were doing it in the Democrats at the same time, so it didn't make any difference. In the late 70s, there was an investigative reporter named Don Bowles that worked for the Arizona Republic, and for whatever reason, he felt free to do a lot of research on organized crime in Arizona. As he's accumulating this information, all of a sudden, it's getting to where there's people concerned. They know that who he's been talking to, they know the kind of things that he's finding out, and they definitely don't want it coming out in his articles. So as he's accumulated this stuff, that made him very dangerous. This is why I learned early on that you don't accumulate information. You say it as you know it. When I first started, I did it in email. I did it on my radio program when I first started doing it here. I'm doing it now. And this is why. If I accumulate this information, then it makes me dangerous. Now they got to, take out all y'all. Which is why they got to get a hold of this internet thing. You see my point? Don Bowles accumulated this information, and he was asked to a meeting in downtown at one of the hotels in Central Phoenix. He drives up. He's in this car that you see here. Let me put it back up again. He pulls up in the car. He goes in. He's looking for the guy. Not there. Doesn't come. Doesn't show up. He goes back to his car, turns it on, and this is what happens to it. Amazingly, he's alive. The first person that gets to him, he's like starting to spouting off names. He's like, man, I know who did this to me, kind of, and amazingly, he survives over a week. Well, at that time, before the internet, there was a thing called the Investigative Reporters and Editors, IRE.org now. You go to IRE.org, or you just type in the Arizona Project, and it'll blow up all over the place. This is what made them famous. What they were doing is IRE.org was an effort for newspapers and investigative reporters to be able to not have to start fresh every time one of these gangsters or a politician or a prosecutor or a bad cop or something moved from Chicago to New York or New York to Detroit or Detroit to Phoenix. These investigative reporters got together and started sharing information. Don was part of that group. Tell you more about that when we come back.